Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Thanks for coming by to check out another video. We are going to a different type of estate sale. It's Wednesday afternoon. I'm really hustling. I just got off of work. You can see I've got my work shirt on. What is happening is that I'm going to what's considered a private estate sale. Now, not one that I'm just going to, but my favorite estate sale dealer who I've talked about in other videos. She basically has a relative who's passed away who is somebody who basically got her and her family into the whole business of dealing with antiques and estates. And so there's apparently a ton of stuff. There's like so much stuff apparently at this house that they had decided to do a pre-sale. And so what they decided to do is pick the most loyal customers, you know, the customers that they have the best relationships with, who reliably show up to their sales, you know, week after week after week. That's why I say always go, because opportunities like this could come up. And so they invited like 30 to 35 of us to head over there. We're each going to get a lottery number that's assigned to us, and then they're going to basically just pick the numbers out of a hat or something, and that's going to decide the order of people who could get in there. Now, I'm not sure how many things are going to be there for me, but she made some mention of there being some vintage postcards that I'm very interested in, maybe early 1900s. So that would be exciting if that was there. So I don't have much time though. I'm only going to have like an hour to an hour and a half to get in there. I don't know if I could turn on the camera, so if not, you know, I'll show you some stuff afterwards. It's just a weird situation. I've, you know, not done this specific type of thing before, but let's head on over there and see what we can find. Okay, so we have arrived, and when we get inside, I'm probably not gonna be able to talk much because it's gonna be close quarters with a small amount of people. So I gotta be careful what I say when I'm in there. I'm likely just gonna film stuff, and we'll just talk about it later. So it's not going to be much audio besides background noise, but again, we'll talk about it afterwards. Okay, so we're here. Not quite the number of cars for a normal estate sale, but that makes sense because it's a limited number of people, but that's who's lined up in the street here. Now, the house we're going to is the white one right over here. As we turn the corner, there's a bunch of people standing outside waiting for the numbers. I'm not gonna film it because, you know, it's getting too close quarters, and you know, they're gonna see that I'm filming them, and they're probably not gonna want that. So, but it's right here, right around the corner, and we're gonna head in there soon. Just got my number. Let's see what it is. Yeah, baby. It's prime time right there. It's prime time. Bingo.
Crossed over. No buying them. No. Not that kind of collector.
Okay. Go ahead. Buy anything out of this bag, because this bag is really not so bad.
1907.
45.
Would you like me to mark that for you? Well, she's going to have to unpack on the price to write the bill.
Interesting title.
What's up, Randy?
Stepping behind you. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, certainly.
You're in an important position. Don't check.
Oh,
It's the center.
There you go.
Drop that.
hey, would you like me to stop? start a fight.
Sold over here? Are these sold? You didn't sell these to anybody? Okay.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so if you want them, and you can sticker them, whatever you want to do. He thought you told him they were sold.
Oh, no, sir. Okay.
All my sold signs are in the bottom of that red basket.
Oh, okay.
A lot of good that does.
Maybe we'll just put, okay. Should we put some masking tape, just have that all, well, I don't think it is.
I don't see that.
That's good, that's good. No, we got
Where Gene and Mark are their books. Gene and Mark.
That's gonna be painful.
That's supposed to be the point.
Where's your mother?
You can shave some off too. If it gets a little big, or you might wanna make it round, you can shave some off on that one side, see? I don't know, maybe you can try it.
Make it up to my
This is disintegrating very quickly.
Sharon?
The more helpful us here.
It's heading south.
Wow, so a really nice big score. You know, it's technically, I guess, not a score until I sell it, but I've been doing this for a while, so I know that this stuff is going to sell. So I am excited to go through all these goodies with you when we get back to Primetime Treasure headquarters and have a lot of fun looking through. I don't even know all of what's in here, so it's going to be a little surprise for me too. I just know from what I did see that this is good stuff. All right, everyone. Well, it is a few days later. I've got everything brought down here at Primetime Treasure headquarters, all laid out here to the side, and I want to go through it with you in a little bit more detail. I couldn't talk too much in there for obvious reasons, but that's why sometimes I like to do this little, you know, post-processing stage with you. And I think that the best thing that I wound up getting was what I wound up looking for. I received a tip that there were vintage postcards in there dating back to the early 1900s. And you know, when you get a tip like that, you never know. You know, somebody may think they're really old and they could wind up being reproductions, but in this case, they weren't joking. These were really old. Now, there were 3 rows like this of postcards, but when I looked through them, this was definitely the best one. And for only $20, I'm going to show you some more examples of what I wound up picking up. This definitely was a steal. Now, the other ones were more newer postcards and, you know, ones that were just kind of more modern-y, touristy type of ones. And there was one box that they wanted $50 for, and I couldn't see that it was worth it. But these ones were worth it, and you heard a little squeak noise. I'll show you what that is in a minute. There's always little surprises in these boxes. But, you know, if Kevin the postcard guy is watching this, or the auction professor, you know, Don the auction professor, feel free to comment down below on what you think of some of these, because I think they're really neat. You know, I'm not an expert in postcards. In fact, it's an area I'm trying to get more and more into this year. And this is really the first year I've actively been buying a lot of these lots of postcards. But, you know, what I'm looking for are these, they call them RPPCs, these real photo postcards. And like this one here is from London, England. And you'll see in the back that it is stamped that this comes from the early 1900s. I believe this one is 1908. It doesn't really matter so much that there's writing on the back of the card. Some people like the personalized nature of that. It's really, from what I understand, the key is the front of the card. People like to display these, and as long as you have something, you know, really cool and interesting on the front, you know, that's what's really important. So there's other ones like this one here. You know, you could see we've got some black and white ones there. This one also, now there's faded writing there, but this one also goes back to the early 1900s as well. So there's I'm not going to show you all the cards because, you know, as you can see, there's just too many of them. But I'm going to show you some, you know, some other examples here. This is one from Paris. Again, goes back, and it actually is date stamped from Paris in 1908. So that is really cool. I'm really interested in that. Now there's some other ones here that are interesting. Again, I just can't show all of them because just in the you know, just for time. But this one here, like, I'm just selecting out some that are really interesting to me. Like this one here, this is from Germany. Really interesting. This one actually dates back to 1906, and you know, the writing on this is in English, and so, you know, it's interesting to kind of, I think, zoom into the message on here. And if there's anything interesting in the message, you know, I could tell a little story. I'm definitely going to highlight that when I do the description. Here's another one. This one, let's see, where is this one from? This one is from, I don't know, it looks like it's from, well, it actually looks Dutch based on the, it looks like kind of Norse, based on the architecture of the building there. So, but that one also dates back to 1906. So, you know, if you're just kind of new to postcards as well, again, this is one of the things you're looking for are these black and white ones from the early 1900s, or just really old ones like this with the real photographs, because they're snapshots in time of something or some place that in some instances doesn't exist anymore, and people really like to capture that. They like to capture the history. Some people like to capture the stories that are on the back and stuff like that. So you know, very interesting. So, and some of them they would colorize like this, so they get a little bit of color in them. This one doesn't have a date on the back of it, so I'm not exactly sure on that one. You know, there is some Dutch influence here. You can see this one is an Amsterdam one. So there's all sorts of things like that. Let's see. Let me show some other ones here. This one's pretty cool. I like this one. This is the Rock of Gibraltar. So you know, famous places like that are really cool too to have. This one's neat too. This one looks like a vintage advertising one. So anytime you could get these vintage advertising postcards or cards, this one actually doesn't even, this one's not even a postcard. And that's the cool thing about buying these little lots. And I actually just seeing this for the first time going over it with you. This is the back of it. So it really is just like an advertising piece, but really cool. And there are people, if you watch American Pickers, which I've said before is one of my favorite shows, you'll know Frank Fritz is a big collector of ice cream items. So anything ice cream related that's vintage. There's plenty of people out there. That's the thing about collectibles. You know, Don talks about this all the time, that collectibles sell all year round. So, you know, they don't just wait for a certain type of year to get them. So collectibles, if you're not into collectibles and you're just doing clothes, and maybe you're doing great in clothes, but if you're looking to branch out, collectibles is definitely an area to get into, especially the vintage paper items. Do really well with those. The comic books is my specialty area, but I love to break into these other areas too. I like to look for things with dogs that have these kind of anthropomorphic you know, characteristics to them, where they're kind of put in these human-like scenes. I think we've got Daisy right there. If any of you know my dog Daisy, go follow my, give Daisy some love on Instagram, by the way. Daisy is at Miss_Daisy_Wobble on Instagram. She needs a little love. Miss Primetime runs that account, so go over and say hi to Miss Primetime, and she'll be a little surprised. She doesn't know I'm doing this, and follow Miss Daisy Wobble over there. Here's another example. I have a couple like these up in my eBay store right now if anyone's interested. It's not these exact ones, but other ones, and the link to that's down below in the description section if you're curious about my eBay store. Here's some other ones. I really like this one. I used to live in Buffalo for 2 years. Both of my kids were born there. And this is what I mean, how they would colorize. Now, they were colorizing these back in the early 1900s. So this one comes from 1908. And I'm telling you, there's definitely someone from Buffalo that's going to want something like this that, you know, displays this historical aspect of downtown Buffalo. Because I'll tell you, you go to downtown Buffalo now, downtown Buffalo is a ghost town. It doesn't look like this. So, you know, maybe Martin and Christina are watching this from Buffalo. This is not the same, not the same at all. So in terms of pricing, I cannot tell you right now what all of these are going to go for. I can't. But what I can tell you is that there are some of the real photo postcards that will sell individually for hundreds of dollars per postcard. It's not uncommon to see a postcard, depending on what it is, sell for $400 to $500. I mean, that can happen. Now, I'm not saying any of these are like that. That would be great if there are, but there's definitely some double-digit sale postcards in here. I mean, there's no doubt about that in my mind. Here's another one as well. So that's why I say for 20 bucks, I mean, this is a no-brainer. For people who are into other kind of pets like cats, I mean, this would be a great example of one here. You know, a lot of these are just ones that you're just not going to find too often. And so, you know, if you could, you know, put up a pretty unique item, that's cool as well. Some of these have like a little squeak to them inside. And I think that's cool that over all these years, they've still maintained the squeak. Like, for example, I'm not sure on the age on this because it doesn't have a date, but you could see there it's like a little birthday message, and you could just see how old it is based on the coloring and the font on the back. But if you squeeze it, it goes like this. So that's pretty neat. It's pretty neat that it is still maintaining the squeaking mechanism. I mean, that just goes to show the difference of how things were maintained and made back then compared to now. Like, that's got to be like 50 years old at least. And the squeak still works. Not only does the squeak still work in that one, it works in this one as well. So there you go. So we got that. And then there's another one with a cat in it that also squeaks. So, you know, these days, you know, you get a plush toy that, you know, was made in China like, you know, 2 years ago, and, you know, a kid plays with it for like 3 weeks, and all of a sudden the squeaking mechanism is dead. So, you know, things are just different compared to you know, compared to how they used to make it. But I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know. Now, you know, I've said this before, but when you pick up lots of old paper items, you're going to find things in there that are kind of random and different from what you thought you were buying to begin with. So, in other words, there's tons of postcards in here, as you can see. But then there's other items in here, like that vintage advertising piece that I found. And then I just realized this like moments before I turned the camera on, because I was just kind of digging through here and sorting through. And I didn't see this at the sale. I didn't notice it, but there's an envelope in here. Now, on the outside envelope, you wouldn't think much of it, but it always pays to look inside and see what you find. And so, you know, I took it out. And one of the reasons I'm going to call this a blessed estate sale find is that when I open up inside, now it's not money. I was hoping that when I looked at it, I said, I hope that's money. But it's not money. So this is an old picture of Saint Dominicus. So that's my name, just in a different format. Instead of Dominic, it's Dominicus. So I think I was blessed. What do you think with this estate sale find? And inside here, there's some interesting things that have like these little paisley patterns on the outside of them. They are religious. I'm not exactly sure if there's a specific name for these items. For those of you watching who are into these kind of religious pieces may know. But like I said, it looks like it has kind of like a paisley look to it, and there's little religious scenes on them. So probably would be something I think that may sell in lots, or maybe individually. I don't know. I'm going to have to look them up and see, kind of make a determination on that. But there's a bunch of those pieces in there. And let's see. And there's a couple other things as well. Like there's another one of these, you know, cats are very popular, so there's another one of these random cat things on the back of it. And then there's like some cards too. Like here's, well, it looks like a card, some kind of, I don't know, it's some kind of vintage remembrance thing. And is there a year on this? No, I can't find a year. But that's what the back looks like. So, oh yeah, it opens up like this. Okay, let's see what's inside. Sincere wishes for a happy new year. So it's an old happy new year card. I wish I knew what year it was, but interesting is that a long time ago, remember the person who owned this house, she was an antiques dealer, and someone was trying to sell just this for 10 bucks, it looks like, at one point. So, you know, that's what I mean. There's just a lot of stuff in here. So that's the postcards, and that's why I wound up picking that up for 20 bucks. You You may have also seen me pick these up right here, and you'll notice that they have like a little bend to them, and they look like old photographs, and they are. These actually, let's see if I could bring the date up to you to show you one of these. Let's see here. Well, some of them are from, I'll bring this one up. Some of them are from the early 1900s. You could see that one there is from 1907. What these are, when you see them kind of curved like this, these were meant to fit in a stereoscopic machine that essentially was like an old version of a viewfinder. You know, the viewfinders that they had in the 1980s, where you push down the little buttons aside, you'd stick in the little films, and then you kind of look through it, and it would you know, kind of bring you, like, feel like you're kind of close up, you know, right there, kind of looking at it. Like, that's what these are for. And in terms of, you know, what they'll sell for, I mean, you could see people online try to sell these individually for like just a few bucks a piece, but the value really depends on not only the condition, of course, but it's really highly dependent on what's going on in the scene, what is being depicted. You know, like, you know, depending on what it is, you could find like 10 of these that might sell for $35. But, you know, these might be best sold as a lot. You know, again, I've got to look into it and see, just to give you kind of a little bit of a better angle on it, and kind of in terms of like what's being shown in it. It's really a diversity of different scenes. There's some religious themes to some of these. This is a location. Let's see here. This is in London. This is a location in London here, so that one might just sell in and of itself. I'm not sure, you know, if someone's interested in that. Here's one with some pets, but it has a little bit of damage on it. Here's some other ones too. You know, just showing some old scenes here. Some kid doesn't like his pants. Let's see, we've got this one over here. Just show you the last ones, since there's not that many of them, but they're cool. They're black and white, they're old, they're vintage. The person who was originally trying to sell these was trying to sell them for a few bucks a piece back in the day. So, you know, this might be something that's just worth lotting together. There's a few phrases down here on the bottom, as you can see. So if you're doing a little bit of a research on it, you could type those phrases in, and you could see if it brings anything up of interest that you know, might be something you can market in terms of keywords that will help it sell. So I was trying to see if I could find that $18.99 one for you, but is this it here? Oh yeah, here we go. This one, there you go, right there, $18.99 on that one. So that's really cool. Oh, and another thing, by the way, talking about random stuff that I find in some of these lots. In the back of the postcard lot, I found this. I opened it up. Again, I wasn't lucky enough that this would be cash, but there's a little calendar in here from 1939, and then when I open this up, this turns out to be a gift certificate for, it looks like is it a gift certificate? Yeah, a gift certificate for $5 to this business. And so, you know, and I don't know like how much this would necessarily be worth. It's kind of cool. I think the, you know, modern day values on things like this is partly dependent on how much the original gift certificate was for. I should see if the place still exists and kind of show up there one day and try to use the gift certificate. I don't know what they would say. It probably doesn't exist anymore, so I'll have to look into that. That's pretty funny. Okay, so another group of items that I want to show you are the songbooks. There was a little sticker on the front of those books that said 11/8. That means that there were 11 books there for $8. On the outside of the bag, there was a book. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but there was you know, one of the songbooks that wouldn't be one that looked too appealing that people would grab, but that's why you have to look inside. I'm always saying look inside, because, you know, if I could guarantee you, if you would have, because I was focused on the postcards at first, and so these were just kind of hanging out there. If you would have seen this as the first one, you probably, and many other people, would have just kind of grabbed it at first. At the top, you could see here that it has the song title, says I'm Wishing. I already put these to protect them inside a bag and a board, but I actually wound up finding 4 of these in here. So we've got the I'm Wishing song, we've got the One Song, we've got the I'll try to read backwards, Someday My Prince Will Come. This one is the one of all of these. There's another one here. This one here is the most difficult one to find. Then there's With a Smile and a Song. Now, generally, these, believe it or not, even though these come from 1937, which is the year that the movie was made, you have to remember, the movie was so popular that so many people went and picked these things up, and there's still a lot of them around, so it's supply and demand. These generally will go for about $10 a piece, although, as I said, this one is harder to find, and so this one go for around 20 or a little bit more. So what I decided to do in this instance is to just lot them together. I felt that that would make a better, a better product, a better value for people. And so you're figuring if someone were to buy them all individually, they'd wound up spending around 40 to 50 bucks on it. So I priced it high. I priced it at $74.99. You never know, especially if you're using the global shipping program, someone might come in those first couple of days or that first week and just grab it for the 75 because they recognize it's a valuable item and they just want to grab it. They might not have another opportunity. Maybe they want to get them individually, but they can't find people who are willing to sell it internationally. So that's one reason for doing that. And if it doesn't sell for that, then you just kind of lower it a little bit each week. That's kind of my strategy with these. But there's no doubt, given the subject matter, that this is going to have a lot of views. I don't normally do this, but like I said, I listed already, and I did take advantage of the subtitle feature so that I could list all the songs, just so if someone's searching for one of the songs, I want to make sure this comes up. So it's an investment of another $1.50 into the item listing, but I rarely do that. But in this instance, I did, again, just because of the subject matter. Another one that I found here is Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? I think that's a pretty cool piece here. This one's even older. This one actually dates back to 1933 with the Three Little Pigs. Who doesn't like the Three Little Pigs, right? But this one, again, there's still a bunch of them out there, believe it or not. And so this one is about $10. It's not really worth a ton. And neither is this, even though I like this type of item, which is the Song of the South. For me, there's a couple of reasons why I like a Song of the South items, even though it's considered a controversial topic. And that's one of the things that makes it interesting to me as a collector and someone who loves Disney and someone whose favorite, well, not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite rides at Disney World is Splash Mountain. I love that ride in Frontierland. And that ride is actually based on this movie. A lot of people don't know that, Song of the South. So if you like those characters, Brer Fox, Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, they all came from this movie in which Disney mixed in live action sequences with animation. A lot of people think that the first time that ever happened was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that's not the case. Disney was doing this back in 1946 with Song of the South. Now, Song of the South through Disney, and I'm going to go on a little tidbit here because I just think it's interesting historically for you to know, based on an item that I don't have, which would be the VHS version of Song of the South. It's a little extra tip I want to give you. If you find that, that's a valuable item because Disney never released it for home release because there's controversy about the film. I'll explain that in just a moment, the controversy. But if you find it on VHS and it's unsealed, you could probably get 25, 30, maybe $35, or maybe even a little bit more out of it. But if you find it sealed, that is, really, really considered to be good value. It could go anywhere between like $100 and even up to like $300. It's sometimes sold for, depending on what's going on in the marketplace at the time. Now, the reason why Disney to date has not really done anything to kind of promote the film or be associated with the film is, as I mentioned, there's controversial subject matter. It's not considered a racially sensitive movie by today's standards, and it wasn't even decades ago, because what it basically did is it portrayed life on a Georgia plantation as being this kind of idyllic, great place to be, almost like you're in Disney World and you're just having so much fun being on the plantation serving people. That's just not reality. It's not what it was like. So even though Disney was attempting to make a nice, friendly, happy kind of film, they still wound up offending a lot of people by how the movie was made. Another thing that's interesting about the movie is this character here, Uncle Remus. Now, Disney wanted to make this movie based on the Uncle Remus stories, which is a whole separate thing, which is basically a whole bunch of stories about people on the Georgia plantation, and Disney wanted to kind of take those stories, adapt them into a film for a long time. And so they finally did that when they released this movie. And as you can see on the back, they actually have the character named Uncle Remus right here, but then they have, for the white characters, they have their real names there, like Bobby Driscoll, but they don't have the real name of the who played the character here, which is, you know, again, that's not really a politically correct thing to do, is to not give the guy credit. Now, his real name is James Baskett, and of historical significance, James Baskett, actually, for his role in this film, he is the first African-American actor to have been given an honorary Oscar award for his work in the film. Even though the role, he was kind of criticized for some people by taking on the role because it was considered demeaning, but you have to remember, again, it's all about history and understanding what things were like back then, not the same how it was now. So back then it was not easy for African Americans to get work in the film industry, and so you kind of took on these types of roles early on to try to pave the way for other people who are coming at a later point. And that's my interest in these things. It's purely from a historical collector's perspective. You could take another perspective on it and you could say, you know what, this film is offensive and I don't want anything to do with it. And if that's your position on it, I completely respect that. There's nothing wrong with having that position. But, you know, there is a marketplace out there for these types of things. And I think as long as your, you know, intention on selling these things isn't to, you know, cause any harm or anything like that, you're trying to serve a collector's marketplace, and you're trying to bring some things that otherwise may have been discarded or historical documents. In this instance, you know, you're preserving them, you're getting them into the hands of people who could, you know, do something with it, display them. That's, you know, I don't find anything wrong with that. Now, Disney will, I think one day Disney will release a Song of the South officially on film. They're kind of waiting for the right time to do it. I mean, even, you know, there's been a push by African American actors and actresses to have that movie out there so people could see it. Whoopi Goldberg being one of them. So that's my little Song of the South rant. So if you ever see, well, not really rant, but just discussion. So if you ever see Song of the South items, you know, you might want to consider looking into it and picking it up. I actually wound up finding 2 of them, and then there were some other songbooks here. There were some Frank Sinatra ones, so I'd have to look them up and see, you know, what they're worth. You know, here's another one here. There's some Frank Sinatra over here. Here's a Jimmy Dorsey one. I don't know what these might be worth. Here's another one here. This looks like it's going to be something I'd put up as a lot. And then this one is interesting here, The Art of Playing the Hohner Harmonica. So that one's pretty cool, from 1937. So I'll have to look into that. I know harmonica items are collectible. Another type of item that I got, which is also one of these things that is, in fact, there's a whole big history of it, and I'm not going to get too much into the politics of it, but I get it purely, like I said, for the vintage advertising aspect of it, which is the company Robertson's. It's a marmalade company in England. And there's lots of different reasons why different types of items from English marmalade companies can be valuable and can be sought after. But this one here, this is the Robertson's Golly. This is the character right here. And there's a whole big controversy about this type of item. Because of just the character that is on there is not, again, one that's considered by today's standards, or even back, you know, decades ago, considered to be, you know, racially sensitive. Now, Robertson's, the company, claims that the development of the item had absolutely, or their mascot had absolutely nothing to do with race, but it was based on him, the owner, going to the United States and seeing some kids playing with some dolls that look like that character, and then naming it, you know, giving it this name. But in reality, what actually happened is that looks like the guy actually stole that character from other toys that were being made at the time by Upton, and just basically didn't give them credit for it and use it in the business. And by 2002, it was completely shut down, that character. So it's no longer used. They replaced it with other characters, so you will not see that character anymore. But there are other items that are there. What kids used to do is they used to buy the marmalade, and there used to be little tokens in there, and they used to collect these tokens, and then they used to send the tokens in, and they would get little toys and little trinkets that had the Golly character on it. Back then, back in the 1930s, kids would collect things with this, like something like this, like these Golly characters. They would collect this like people collected Star Wars figures, or collect Star Wars figures, or Lego minifigures. I mean, that's just what it was like back then. So again, it's historical. There's a tie here that they made, so we've got that. There's also, they actually made some type of cologne too, which is interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the marmalade containers. And really interesting to me is that they actually have the character here with the marmalade on it. And this is actually a full apron. And it even has on the bottom, it's kind of hard to see, but it's got the person's name who wore it. So we've got that here as well. We've got the full apron from, looks like one of the stores. So that's an interesting historical piece as well. So they are quite collectible. I don't know of comps for those specific items, so we'll have to see. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the last group of items, which there should be no controversy associated with it, because it is just stationery. Now, I say just stationery, and that's how a lot of people would kind of look at it. They walk by it and they say, it's just a bunch of pencils, or it's just a bunch of, pens or whatever. Well, depending on how old those pencils are and what's on those pencils and how old the pens are and if they're mechanical pens or what, they really can have a lot of value to it. And this is the entire lot, and I picked this all up for 20 bucks, and I'm gonna give credit to Don, the auction professor. You should watch his channel. He actually had a Be on the Lookout special that he did recently on vintage pencils and showing how much vintage pencils can sell for. And that kind of, cued me into it. Now, I have vintage pencils, and I had them before. I have, Kiss vintage pencils and stuff. So depending on what's on there, I have picked them up in the past. But watching Don's video, really cued me in terms of how valuable some of these pencils really can be. For example, I just did like a little search before I came on here. There was now it was unused, and that's sometimes one of the things that's important. Has the pencil ever been used before? So if it's never been used, that's going to make it more valuable depending on what's on it. But there's a Dukes of Hazzard vintage pencil that sold, one pencil that sold recently for $340 for a freaking pencil. Okay, so it's just amazing what's out there. And, someone might just sell, this could be something someone might sell to you at a sale for 25 cents, not knowing. That's the power of research and knowledge and reselling. It's one of the things that I love. But there's so many interesting things in here. I'll just pull out like a couple of examples just to give you an idea of what to look for, things that I thought were pretty cool. This here is a pencil for Cornell. It is an Ivy League school here in central New York, and it has the 1957 schedule on it, which is pretty neat. You could definitely see an alumni from that school wanting something like that, so that is a really cool item right there. A pretty neat pencil. This here, now this one is used a bit, but there's still a lot of the pencil left. It's an old soda one. It's a 7-Up from a bottling company here in Syracuse, New York. So that's cool for a 7-Up or a Pepsi related or just soda collector. Is pretty neat. I like to get the food advertising collectibles. So this old Pillsbury flour one here is pretty neat. I like that. You can see there it has been used, but there's still a lot of it that's left. There were a bunch of Coca-Cola pencils. I believe I got those on film earlier. So there's a bunch of them right here. There's at least 2 of them that have not been used. And so these sell well in lots. So, you know, it just depends on how many of them that you have. But it's not unreasonable for a decent lot of vintage Coca-Cola pencils to sell for like around 30 bucks or something like that. You know, just as long as they're plain Coca-Cola pencils, like nothing super fancy going on with them. But you could see these are reasons why I decided to invest $20 into it. I mean, you could do things like, you know, you could look, and I'll show you some more of the pencils in a minute, but you could just, you know, grab something like this, like these Venus indelible copying pencils, and you could see there that, you know, this is something, if you look it up, this is worth about 10 bucks, and it's light, easy to ship, first class. So, you know, if you just talking about that one item is a $10 item, and you just have to spend $20 for the whole bin, then obviously, you know, it's going to be worth it. So that's how you can make some decisions like that. There's another Pillsbury one here. Let's see here. Then there are some bigger pencils, like, you know, like this right here. You can see this is thicker than the average size pencil. So I like these giant size ones that have these, you know, this is a big city on it, Chicago, Illinois. So, you know, you're kind of looking for things like that. Look for the big cities, something industrial. Those types of things could be pretty cool as well to sell. You know, here's another one, National Supply Corporation, not used, vintage, cool piece. And there were also some pens in there, some mechanical pens that had some good advertising on them. In fact, this one here, well, this is not mechanical. This is one of those kind of like ballpoint ones, but it's cool that it has shake and bake on it. Remember shake and bake? Remember those shake and bake ads back in the day? There's some other cool ones in here too. We've got an old TWA one, so that's cool, and it's got the little slogan on the side of it too. You're going to Florida, so I like that. Again, we've got some more Pepsi related ones. In fact, there's a bunch of the Pepsi related ones here. I'll just show you a couple of them, but there's a bunch of similar ones there. So nice old Pepsi ones. I don't know if they work. I haven't tested it out, but I'll do that. You know, a lot of times the ink will dry up over this many years. So there's a bunch of other Pepsi ones. In fact, let's see. That was 2 of them. So there's 3, 4. Well, this one, nope, this one does have the bottom in it. So okay, so there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I just have to look what makes sense. Sell it as a lot, put it as multiple ones available, or sell them off individually. It just depends on what they sold for in the past. So and then there's some other things in there like that are just kind of random. Like there's this you know, super ink right here, and it's in the original box. These pieces, you know, it just depends. They could sell for as high as $25. I'm not saying I'm going to get that exact thing out of it, but it's going to be a first-class item. And you know, I'll probably get, you know, with just like 1 or 2 of these inks, enough to pay for the entire, oh boy, like I said, this big thing of pencils and ink and just random things. Like there's stuff in here that I have not even discovered yet and don't even know what's there, and I'm just gonna have to take my time and go through it at a later point. You know, like here's an example. You know, there's like all these vintage pieces in there, so it's just gonna be a lot of fun. There's like old Scripto stuff in here. I don't know, a lot of stuff. So, but definitely well worth more than 20 bucks. So I hope that you enjoyed going to that private sale with me. And I just want to emphasize the point that if you want to get items like this sometimes, you really have to, I can't emphasize enough, you have to make connections with people in your community. Now, granted, there were 34 other people that showed up to that. I was fortunate to be the last person who showed up after work and pick out number 3 with that lottery system that they wound up doing. So there was no sign-up sheet for it. But still, regardless, I still would have been one of the 35 that was you know, allowed in the house at some point. And then at a later point, we're probably going to head back there for a different day because they're going to open up the basement, which was not available for other types of items that that I like. But I wound up getting that opportunity because I reliably go to that person's sale. I always say she's my favorite, my #1 estate sale dealer in the area. She has the best items for me, the best prices, and so I make sure to go support her sales no matter what. And you know, and talk to her, and you know, have a conversation. at the end of the year, I got her a $100 gift card. So like all those sorts of things, you know, to invest in a relationship, they pay off down the road. And so, you know, that's the type of things that you could get out of it, because, you know, that was just not something available. It wasn't advertised. No one else in the public could have got there. You had to have a private invite to get into that type of thing. So I just wanted to emphasize that again, that it really, you know, pays to come up with ways to build relationships, think outside the box, so that you could get other sourcing opportunities that, you know, some of your competition won't be able to access. So that's it. I hope you liked the video. If so, make sure you hit the like button, make sure that you subscribe, make sure you come to the Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. The link to that is down below in the description section. And also come by on Instagram. I put up short little videos that don't always go up to this channel, like I did one this morning about packing books and making sure you do certain things to keep them safe, especially if they're big and heavy. So go check that one out. That's at prime_time_treasure. I'll see you back at the next video, everyone. Take care.